And for more, let's speak to Quentin Peel, an associate fellow with the Europe program at Chatham House. Hello, and thank you for speaking to France 24. First of all, what did the Queen's passing mean to you?
Well, I think it's a big shock at a moment where already we're in a pretty severe national crisis. It means removing this wonderfully reassuring, steadying figure who was just there. She was there for all her prime ministers, just as somebody to consult. She represented continuity. And the truth is, we now have not only a new prime minister, but we have a new king, and we have an economic crisis more severe than we have known for many decades looming. And I think, therefore, it is a period both of national grief, but also of national nervousness, and that's going to be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, as you were saying, in the past week, we've had two monarchs, two prime ministers. It's a very turbulent time. The Queen was always there as a reassuring presence. How will Britain navigate these tricky times?
Well, I think that it may give the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, a bit of a breathing space, because I think everybody is going to be involved in one way or another in this mourning period. We've seen all the sports matches being abandoned and everybody giving up on what might be described as sort of social events. And it's a distraction, perhaps, from worries about what the new Prime Minister and the new government will be like. So from that point of view, it could actually play quite well for Liz Truss, but she's got to handle the situation well as well. And after all, Prince Charles, as you heard from your previous speakers, I think, has been somebody who has, over the years, been really quite interventionist. He's liked to get involved in issues, above all things like climate change, but also in trying to reconcile different religions, in being open to different minority groups and so on. And I think there's a nervousness about whether he will be distanced enough from the political process so that he will be a king in the style of his mother, or is he going to be a rather tiresome political prince?
Well, that's a good question. What do you expect?
I think a little bit of both. He's not going to change his character overnight, and certainly his commitment to the cause of dealing with climate change is a lifelong one, and he believes in that absolutely passionately. And he's built all his own business. He has this substantial organic farming that he is involved in. I mean, he's not, I think, going to just give that up in order to be a king behind the scenes. I think he's still going to be quite involved.
Now, the Queen was a beloved figure, certainly in the UK, but well respected abroad. For that reason, we've seen her meet and host dozens of foreign heads of state. Do you think King Charles will have the same pull?
Probably not, because clearly he's got to invent himself anew. But he actually does have an enormous amount of international experience, and he's travelled to many, many parts of the world. So he does know other heads of state and other major political figures. So I think that he is quite experienced in that area, but clearly nothing to compete with the extraordinary experience of his mother, who did more than 70 years on the throne.
Yeah, and as that era ends, there's already been speculation about what it means for the royal family and the monarchy. Some in Australia, one of the places where criticism has come up, more Republican tendencies. What do you think lies ahead for the royal family and the monarchy?
I think quite turbulent times. I think there's going to be strains on the union inside the United Kingdom, with still a lot of pressure for Scottish independence and a lot of uncertainty too, I think, about the future in Northern Ireland and whether we might be seeing by 2030 maybe a reunited Ireland. Those will be very difficult things, I think, for a royal family, a monarchy, to deal with, which this monarchy, after all, has been almost synonymous with the Union. I think that they were unhappy. I certainly attended a speech by the Queen in Germany after the Brexit referendum. She's not at all happy, I think, about Britain dividing itself off from Europe. She was not happy. I think Prince Charles may share that view, but I don't think he can dare to let it be too public. It has to be very discreet.
Quentin, before I let you go, I just want to ask you real briefly, what's your lasting image of the Queen?
Somebody who was a bit dowdy, a bit old-fashioned, but had a sense of humour. There was always a twinkle in her eye, and she had that wonderful smile. So although she wasn't very profound, I think the twinkle that went with the ceremony was actually very important.
Yeah, humor in perhaps an unexpected package, and awfully made some of those visits very entertaining, I think, behind the doors.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think that she charmed people. She had real charm, and that was very important. It put people at their ease. The one time I met her, she couldn't have been more delightful, and she was very good at small talk. So all of those things, I think, meant that people actually found her unstuffy and easy to get on with.
And that's quite a talent.
Old-fashioned.
Well, that's quite a talent, I think, to be apolitical, impartial, but also very warm and very genuine. That's one of the common refrains we're hearing from world leaders as these tributes pour in about how sincere they are in paying tribute to the Queen.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a description of her as saying, well, she didn't put a foot wrong. Actually, that's an extraordinary achievement in this day and age of publicity and public appearances. After all, she was a public figure, an enormously visible public figure. And to get away with that without getting into her own problems of any sort of scandal or misspeaking herself, clearly she had problems within the family. There were scandals there. Loads of them, but she sailed gloriously over it all, calm and serene.
Does she deserve any criticism for maybe not speaking out on some of these scandals or maybe dark moments of Britain's past?
Very difficult. I think that she did learn a lesson at the time of the death of Princess Diana, when she really didn't speak out quickly enough. And there was quite a backlash, I think, that she wasn't showing enough sympathy, really, for the tragedy that had occurred to that poor woman and indeed to her sons. But all of that has been really put back together. So I think people understood that she wasn't somebody who was going to make waves politically. I think they're much less certain about the future King Charles.
All right, Quentin, thank you very much for your time. Quentin Peel from Chatham House.